Okie dokies. So I I kind of want to get more into about, I don't know, I guess like, is it being a mom or, I mean, yeah, I guess of like when I became a mom. Oh wow, this is gonna be like wow, okay. Hmm. When I became a mom, I was most definitely a child. Um, I was 16, 17. I was 16. I think the first time around I was 15. First time around I was 15, I think. Um, and that was a stillborn, um, miscarriage, miscarriage type of thing. I don't really know the terminology, okay. But I've heard a few. Um, and again, pregnant after that one, full term baby, which is my oldest, and he is 12. Um, he was born when I was 16. Yes. Okay. Take what you will here. I know, crazy. Um, and I was still in high school during this time, obviously. Um, what school was I attending? I was, for the first pregnancy, I was in this high school that was more closer to where I lived. For my This was like my second year in high school. Oh my God, this was my sophomore year in high school, which is 10th grade. Okay. Um that's just so crazy. I don't even know what I was saying. I kind of blinked out there a little bit. But I was in high school and going through this. But by the time I was pregnant again after the stillborn, I had already gone back to my original high school, the one I started off high school with, where all my friends were. Not that none of my friends were at this high school, the second one I went to, because the second one I went to, I knew all the people there from when I was in like elementary school, like kindergarten through like third grade. So I was able to like go back to a school where I was like re-meeting those friends. And then I forgot what the point of all that was, but I ended up going to this other school, the third school, a continuation high school. It wasn't because of the pregnancy. This was already like my junior year, I think. So this is like my third year of high school. I am finding it's like around like fall time. I'm finding out that I have to go to a continuation high school. I think applied to that like in the beginning when I was registering back to my original high school. So my counselor had already told me since the beginning, and I already knew that I was gonna have to transfer schools at some point because my second year of high school was I missed probably like I missed a good amount of school. I would never really go to my first period and period. I don't know. I said that's so weird. I would always be late, and I just wouldn't be at school. So I missed a lot of school, and I had to go to that one to make up my grades and my credits. Um, and that's when I found out that I was pregnant again. This is like, yeah, like 16, I said 16. So like, this is like come talking, referring back to the second time that I was pregnant, which is second pregnancy, but first child. And I then had my child. When I had my son, I was in independent study, so I would only go to the school once a week to bring in my packet, and then I would get the other packet for the week and go pick up my child from my mom and then go home. So during this time, I did not live with my mom. I was on my own since I was pregnant with my I was pregnant the second time. Um, so the one pregnancy that did go all the way full term. I didn't live with my mom anymore at some point, and I can't really get into all that, and I just really rather not. I don't think I ever will, but it's just like the gist of everything, of just like a hint of, I don't know, what my formative years were. um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that I don't live with my mom anymore at that point. I was living on my own, and so during this time I was with the father. So yeah, and then after my son, just like really learning to become a mom was like next level. Cause yeah, when I was younger, I would. That's my baby over there. When I was younger, I would like want to participate in changing my cousin's diapers and fixing them like their bottles and stuff, like with like almost like all three of our kids. and and then for another cousin, also did it for her, which I thought was funny. I'm like their second mom, but once you have like your child, especially so young, I was like, well, like you see like those videos where it's like, not that I ever had twins, but like those videos I saw recently where it's like, when you had twins, but you get home and it's like, what now? You know? And the thing is that, well, me, since I have all kids now, me, I know what to do once I get home. You're basically just home. So like if you want to go lay down, then you go lay down, but you do have a baby. So you're also accommodating the baby, including the baby with what you're doing. So that's what I did. I would just be like laying down all the time with him and like him doing like tummy time. And I wouldn't go out during that time. Well, it was summertime, so my summertime, when I had him, my summer was just like me just enclosed in that room, and it was like the most uncomfortable time, one of the most uncomfortable times of my life, 100%. Um, it's just like you feel so confined and like, I don't know, almost like, I don't want to say like in prison because I wasn't in prison. Like I could go out, etc. But I felt so like I don't know, like I couldn't live. Like I'll play music with the baby, with my son. Like I'll do stuff with him. Like we'll do stuff together, but like it'll be in that room only. It was like my safe space. I feel like with him, I was incorporating lots of music. There'll be lots of music. I mean, Um, um, like I would say, I mean, we grew up together. We grew up together, and I feel like he definitely helped me um go through all that I did because all I kept thinking is like, I don't know, just to be like the best person that they could um, look up to. Um, like no matter what, like what's going on, like I would always just, I don't know, be there to care for them and like just like play with them and everything that a baby and a child would want to do. So that's what I would do even when I had school. And then at some point after that, I started working, not necessarily because I had to, but more so because I wanted to. Um, I feel like I was like just so like with my son like during that time. Not that I didn't want to be. He was like, was he a year old already? I don't think so. No, he was not. Um, but I feel like my grandma was like, she definitely helped me a lot. My my grandma always did what she could. She always did like she always went to more than what she ever needed to do when it came to me and like helping me out with starting my own life, like with my child. Cause really scary. Like normal people just go through life like how it should be per se, like elementary, middle school, high school, college, and then you go on to live on your own during college, or maybe not go to college, just go live on your own, venture out and do what you want to do, and just like, you guys might be hearing a cat right now. It's like all the stray cats that are outside. So there's like stray cats out there. You might be hearing cats meowing and doors closing. It's my kids. I'm trying to get so emotional, but like these are dark times. um, that I'm trying to like suppress, but like just thinking about like the gist of like becoming a mom. But then all that goes with it is like so much. um, but my grandma would be the one to um watch my son when I would go work, and I chose to work because I wanted to spend time um getting closer with my friend. She also worked um, where I worked, and that's the only reason why I even applied there was because she was there. I thought like what best better thing than to work somewhere where your friend works, like you have someone you could talk to, etc., and kind of have like a life outside of school. Um, so it's like the part of life where you're starting to become like more independent. So, like it's like when you start earning like your own money. Um, so that was like really fun. And so I did that. Um, and then sometime later, a few years later, they're all my kids are 3 years apart. Like my three oldest, they're 3 years apart, and they're 2 months apart, I think. So 3 years later, that's when I was expecting my daughter. So I think I was maybe like 20. I don't really know how old I was. I was definitely older though. Wasn't in high school. Um, and my partner, um, he's still the same partner I had. He's basically the father of my kids. Let me just put that out there before like I confuse anybody. I don't know, like by saying I don't know. Expecting my daughter, and I don't remember how what year this was. 2015 going into 2016. Those years were crazy. I'm not gonna lie, those years were crazy. This was already like sometime after graduating high school, like about a year and a half after graduating high school. I had my daughter, and having two kids at that time was scary because when I was pregnant with her, um, um, I was, I didn't have my own place during this time. Um, we would, I don't even like saying we. I'm just gonna say um, I and like that person, we would went rent out rooms. So it's like people like rent out like well, like roommates, etc. But we wouldn't know these people, and there'll be somebody who'll be like renting out like a bedroom. That's kind of like how I went about after we had no longer lived with that person's parent because like my family situation wasn't the best. Nothing was good. um, so we would rent out rooms, and I remember always thinking like, what's gonna happen? Because at that time, that person, like our roommate or like the person we were running with, they said they were going to move by the time the lease ends, and the lease ended when it was ending like in that summertime, and it was already approaching summertime. So the whole time, like I would always think like, what's gonna happen? So like I always like lived on survival mode. Like I would definitely say like the whole time. And um we ended up getting an apartment with somebody he knew. Um, but then living with that person wasn't ideal, because she was also a horrible person. Like I didn't know such horrible people existed out there. Like I like true crime, I feel like wasn't necessarily like a thing. Like I'm talking about like podcasts and stuff like that. Like I didn't discover it until like maybe like 2018, 2019 or so. Like around this time, like I don't know, I just didn't know people so horrible could exist out there. Like you hear stories, but like I don't know. It kind of just makes you like realize how common things are. So living with her wasn't good either. I would hear things all the time and I'll just be like, "What, this is insane." Like, I don't know, like I don't know. I only talk about this because she had two daughters and two or yeah, two, and I just had my daughter. So her, hearing her treat or like say things that she would to her daughters would blow my mind. Um, because I'm just thinking like they're children. Like you hear like behind doors, it's kind of like different because then it's like, well, who else? Like who can? First of all, I don't even know what's the first thing I could do. I don't necessarily think the police would be the right person to call. I feel like it would be more so just like I don't know. I don't know who I would call or tell to. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to always be living like this. Like seeing like how other moms could be to their children was terrifying. And I say terrifying because moms, I feel like, are the ones that the children tend to always end up with. Just like when it comes to like separations or just in general, like me, young and pregnant, like who would be the one with the baby? Obviously the mom. Like, do you know what I mean? That the dad wouldn't be the one to take the baby unless the family was like, we'll take the baby, we'll raise them. You know what I mean? But yeah. So seeing like how other moms would like blow my mind. There were people out there like that, like having to deal with this person's mom being like that, and like to their own like somebody who's related to them. I was like, that's ridiculous. And then having to like meet someone who wasn't even like in connection to you, but like just somebody because your partner at the time worked with them and seeing how they are was like, oh my God, it's just crazy what you experience growing up, like what other people experience and like, you know, like see and witness. So then I had my daughter, but yeah, um, and then I think I worked somewhere else at this time. I would attend school still, even after I had kids and everything. Like after I had my son, I still continued going to school, um, like high school, and I graduated. And even though it's a continuation, it's still graduating, like it's not a GED. And then after that, I still went to college. I even if it was community college, did go for a while because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't have that guidance. I feel like that proper guidance to like so I could know what to do. Like I had to do everything myself since I was a kid. And so trying to also go and having to do all this while having kids is insane. But the time that I was enrolling in college, I only had my son at the time. I changed my major so many times. By the time I had my daughter, I think I was trying to do psychology. I think around the time I was, yeah, um, that got throw it out the window real quick. So I was like, no. Um, and then at some point after that, I changed it to accounting because I figured I want to be done with this shit already. Like I was going through so much shit in life, and then like having to manage everything is it's crazy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm feeling kind of like congested. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I was like crying earlier. I lived in my brother's apartment after the lady, I think. I was trying to apply for low income housing because they had built like this new housing by that I were in an area that I knew, and okay, maybe I could probably get something like that, like to help myself out and to no longer have to be renting out rooms and like having roommates and like living with people you don't know, etc. And like having kids being brought into something like that is not good. It's and then I didn't have guidance into, or even like I feel like the mental capacity, the mental awareness, or like the knowledge, I don't know how to explain it, to even feel like there could be better when it came to a lot of things, and that I could still take care of myself to like have a bigger plan for myself. I didn't think none of that was possible. Um, so I was just living and surviving in what I knew and thinking, well, as long as it's not as bad, um, maybe it won't be as bad, you know? So it was definitely just accustoming into what had happened and what is happening, and just thinking, well, this is what it is. This is what life is. This is how other people might be also. This is what I'm going to have to go through, you know? Like, there's nothing else I could do to try and, um, but I feel like also maybe because if I would have something like that, I feel like that would have been like a step in the right direction of like um having my own space, and then maybe being able to do something so I can keep this space for my kids and have the other person leave, because at least I have some sort of security blanket for the kids and, I don't know, survival. So I feel like when it came to something, I always thought about like the extra 10,000 miles, you know? But then we ended up moving into the townhouse where we had roommates. And during that townhouse, I feel like this part definitely ties in into the last video I posted with my recent partner now, Brendan, about the sleep paralysis. Um, because when we, I don't like saying we, because when I moved into that townhouse after leaving my brother's apartment after subletting, because he moved back, because like I said, good for her, that girl, good for my ex sister-in-law. Um, my brother doesn't see this video. I'm just kidding. I might just cut all this out. I don't know. Who cares? We're all grown here, right? They're all cool. Um, yeah, he needed his apartment back. And I was like, okay. Oh, but after this, we went to a townhome with roommates. That roommate was their dad's the time like co-workers from like this one like place. Um, and it was like a three-bedroom townhome with an upstairs, downstairs, and it was moving back out of where I'm living at now, the city. But I was moving back to that one area. Um, I call it the restricted grounds. When I like, for example, first had my kids, it was in restricted grounds. Um, but the townhome, I feel like there when I had my daughter, it was just me and my kids all the time. And I would work like at my aunt's store. So I was able to take my kids with me most of the time. Like I'll just have them in the back. It was like a whole like other space. So they were able to just be there and and like chill out. And then I would get back home. Most of the time it was late. I'll get them ready and everything. Um with there, I had to deal with the roommates that were like his coworkers. One of them was wild. He'll always be so loud and everything. And the thing is that they'll bring friends too. And these were friends that I didn't know, obviously. But when they would, I would just be upstairs, like in my room locked. My room was like the bigger one, and so my kids would just be in there with me. They always slept with me, obviously, we still had roommates who did not have their own room, but they always had their own bed. I feel like for me, that's something I always had to still have, not even have, that I 100% require, always, no doubt, um, need for my kids is for them to have their own bed. And as simple as one may think that sounds, is you don't have your own bed. I don't know, some people don't grow up with one. And I'm crying about this because I feel like recently in life, like right now, like these days, as a mom, the topic being me as a mom, becoming a mom, I make sure my kids have the bare necessities, obviously, that they need, you know, toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, like anything they need to, for like, I don't know, like personal hygiene, that they have it. Um, like whatever they need when they request it, that I am able to provide, even when things get like tight, because like things are expensive these days, but I feel like it's just needed. So, um, my kids were always with me growing up as the babies, even when we had roommates, they always were with me. And when we had that, even though we had roommates again after we left my brother's apartment, um, my room was a bigger one. So I had my bed on one side of the room, and then on the other side of the room, was their bunk bed. It was just them two, my son and my daughter at the time. So a bunk bed was good. And the way my room was, it was big. You could cut it in half and have two big rooms. Like, so they always had their own bed. Sorry, I just like a little bit ugly cried there because what I struggle with now is that I feel like I always just um I've been having a hard time like coming to, I don't know, like to not to terms, more like I've just been having a hard time because when I was growing up, I didn't always have a bed. I didn't have a bed. During high school, I did have a bed for like 2 years, I think, maybe. And the only reason why I had a bed for some of the time during high school was because, well, it wasn't even mine. It was somebody else's. And it was like left behind. Long, another story for another time. And it became my bed. Growing up, I think I had a day bed, day style bed, but then I couldn't be in that room anymore. And then that bed was no longer there. And then my bed, I was wherever the fuck I made a bed, okay? And I feel like these days when I'm thinking about that, it just makes me like so sad because I also like remember about that time. This goes back about the second place I lived at, renting a room. The lady I was telling you guys with two daughters, she had her own room, and it was like an apartment, also same style where like you have roommates. She knew the people. She knew the other roommate. She had her own room. She had her own room, but her daughters would not stay in her room. Her daughters would stay to sleep in the living room, and the living room was not furnished. Her room was furnished. You know, like when you go and you buy a bedroom set or a living room set from the furniture store and they deliver it to you? Her bedroom was that. It was the whole set and everything, comforter, everything. And her kids did not sleep with her. They slept in the living room with no furniture. And then at some point, she got them a futon. But the thing is that it wasn't just her two daughters. Like they were little, like I think it was like four, a 3 or 4 year old, and then like a 6 year old. So it was like a 3 year old and a 6 year old, for example, two daughters. And then it was her little sister, the lady's little sister that she would take care of because I don't know for whatever reason, but she was practically raising her. And then they all just slept in the futon. Um, and it's just wild to me that some people just, I don't know, don't provide the kids a bed. Um, while they go do stuff and, you know, um, and live their lives, new adventures and memories for them, but like while you don't have one. So, and at some point I did give one of them a bed. It was my son's. He didn't need a toddler bed anymore. He was getting a different size bed, and it wasn't like before like we were leaving or something like that. And I gave it to one of the girls because I was like, she's not getting them a bed. And I couldn't tell them anything. I didn't want to end up in a fight. Like she was that kind of girl. And I have my kids. So like as a mom, I was just there to watch my kids. Um, so me for these days, I have a hard time because I'm just thinking like what mom wouldn't want to give the kid a bed? Or like just make sure that they have like somewhere comfortable like to sleep at night, just sleep on at night and um just like I don't know. I'm pretty sure it makes kids feel like they're safe. It kind of just like some moms like give up. That's what I think because I know like for example like when I was 4 or 5, I know I had a bed. I know I had one because it was like a Hello Kitty themed. I know that, but then like at some point it was like I don't know. It was like I'm telling you like I don't know. It's just different. And I feel like for me I would always make sure my kids have a bed. Like they're not calling like the floor their bed or like the couch. their bed or like the treadmill, their bed, or like just anything. I don't know. Um, but I would just be in that room with them. Um, when like roommates would have like their friends over, or like when I just didn't feel safe. Um, and I feel like there was at one time during um oh my god, this also goes back to that one of the times when we were living that townhome. There was this like neighbor of mine who had a little son, and at some point, I don't remember how I got to know her. I think it was when my daughter um wandered out of the house. It was out of the townhome. It was one time at night, me and the father, I don't know, were like I was trying to it was one of the times that I was trying to kind of just see if I could have the strength to fully go and start something so it can try and lead to like a separation, if that makes sense. Kind of like a breakup. But I just didn't know how that would be like. So that night it started with me telling the person that I didn't want to be with them anymore and stuff like that. And I was thinking, well, even though, like I said, you always got to think about what to do and like how you could, like, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like you just got to act and like just do something. So I, it was one of those, and um, stuff was getting out of hand. And at some point, I was in the living room, and then I had gone upstairs to move my daughter out of the way because, it doesn't matter if there are kids around. Some people would just act a certain way. I was taking her upstairs. My room was upstairs, and I put her in the room and I told her to stay. And then I ran out because TVs were being taken out of the townhome and being done God knows what. So I ran out of the townhome, like just trying to figure out like what's going on, like where are they being taken to? Like I don't know what's going on. Like don't act a fool, because at the end of everything, I was always trying to not cause a scene and kind of like go back to like calming the suspect, calming the person who's doing the causing this. Do you know what I mean? Um, so I had to run out, and I guess I didn't close the door. I don't remember. And then at some point when I had left the apartment, it was like an upstairs and an upstairs. My townhome was upstairs. It was like the second floor. My daughter had also run out of the apartment. During this time she was probably like, I don't know, like 3 or 4. And I had come back because I didn't know where that person had gone with the TVs, etc. So I had gone back inside, and that's when I went back upstairs because I was like, okay, whatever. And she was gone. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, my son is here, he's asleep, but my daughter, she's gone. And I'm looking around, and she's out there looking in the closet. Closet was like a big walk-in closet. Bathroom, nothing. I started looking downstairs and nothing, and then I knock at my roommate's door, and I was like, have you seen Mita? Like, did she come in here or something? And they were like, no. So I was like, oh my God. And I just run outside, and I'm just like calling out for her outside, and I'm running, and then this one lady, like across, but like a different building, but like across, like from mine, She's like, I have your daughter. She's here. And I was like, oh, like, and then I go, and then she was like, yeah, she was wandering down the stairs. And then she was about to run out after you. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's like, what did, like, what am I doing that I put her, I don't know. And I blame myself for that, for her going outside. Because at the end of the day, I'm the mom, and I should have, like, just been like, fuck, he could do whatever the fuck he wants, but I should stay inside and close the fucking door and, like, make sure they're safe and just be with them. But I don't know. And then that's when I got to know her, and she had a little boy. And she was, um, when I was looking at her apartment, I'm just thinking, like, so she's that type of person. I kind of got to see how she was living. I got to know her, and I'm just thinking, like, I don't want to associate myself with this person, but I couldn't be myself to ignore her when I would see her, because at the same time, I wanted to make sure that she wasn't, like, kind of like keep tabs that she wasn't going to be doing anything to her son that was sketchy. Um, so, like, I don't know. I don't know. Um, she wasn't working though. It was just her and her son. Um, but, like, this area, the restricted area, was just full of, like, negative memories, negative energy, and lots of trauma. And I feel like going through all that and, like, being a mom is, like, the most horrible things to go through, because you're trying your best to survive. And I say survive, and that sounds kind of like too drastic, but then it's like, I don't know, is it? um and then, like, having wanting to just, like, um do things so, like, your kids don't have to, like, witness things, and, like, or even just see you cry. I try to always never let my kids see cry when stuff like that was going on, um because I don't know, I didn't want them to know that I could get so sad. I don't know. I didn't want them to know that, like, I was going through something like that because of this person. I don't know. Um, so, um, I, so after that, I never did something like that again, where I would, like, run out after that person or whatever. Cause then that's when I was like, I feel like after that night was the first time where I was like, I'm just going to keep on looking for a way out. Even when it didn't seem that bad, like, at all, and we're just living, I I feel like that's you just have to do that in order to, like, find the right time. Um, and, like, just always look for a way out, and then fully plan things out. So I would always, like, I don't know, look stuff up and see what I could do. But after that, in that same townhome was when I found out I was pregnant with my youngest of the three. And Um, that pregnancy was something else. I don't really remember all of it. Um, I know going through all that, and then still number three of, and now we're getting to the youngest of the three. Like I said, you just go through thinking there's nothing better. Um, and as a mom, you're just trying to survive and, just do what you can for your kids, even if it means just staying back. And even if it takes a while, um, you just, I don't know, just gotta do what you gotta do. And I'm not saying that um, it's justifiable, oh, just, have another one, have another one. And that's not what I'm trying to say. Um, but when I was pregnant with my youngest of the three, um, we ended up moving out of that apartment, and I feel like I was going through some ventures with like my sister, stuff like that. We had like our own thing together that was fun. Um, so that's when I was thinking like, okay, maybe I could become happier, because then around that time, we planned on I planned on going through the other thing with this person of tying the knot, because I figured right now it seems like it really cannot get bad. Like it feels like things are getting better. Um, you know, like I said, I feel like the more, like there was another child, so like it got even less than the first time around. Like when my first to my daughter, it was like up here, and then it was like right here, and it was like her, like, do you know what I mean? But there was still some instances of like this here. Then something happened. It did take me a year from that incident to take action. Um, well, I started doing Twitch. And I would stream, and that's when I started having, I think that's why also I was successful in um leaving that person and showing my kids that I'm not going to settle for something like that, and that they shouldn't either. They shouldn't have to go through anything like that and desensitize from it, because they've seen things, they've heard things, and at some point I feel like my oldest definitely desensitized from some of the stuff that happened. And like my daughter, she definitely does remember like that one of the things that happened. So I, as a mom, you just want your want things better for your kids, and not put them in that kind of environment again. Um, and also, I feel like it shows that it does get better. Um, because when I was pregnant, with my youngest of the three, uh, I had lost my dad, and I had to get an emergency C-section, and then waking up from that, and then doctors telling you that they had thought that your baby had passed. Um, but he didn't. So, that's really good. And he's here with us today. And he loves Legos. He loves many things. And he won't remember any of that, which I'm glad. because when I separated, there was a TV that was broken. It was sometime after, no, like the same week of the separation, but it was a TV that was broken. But I don't think he remembers any of that. I really don't. He was like not even 2 years old. I feel like as a mom, you don't want your kids to go through any of that. So I accepted that I'm gonna have to struggle for a bit, even, and as a mom, you don't want to struggle because that means your kids also have to struggle. But I always try to do my best with them after the fact when the separation happened. Um, I did what I could for them. And yeah, that's how I became a mom. I feel like me becoming a mom,
Traumatizing.
having my baby now, it's like the most mind fuck emotional roller coaster because you're constantly thinking, this is how it should have been from the beginning. This is how it needs to be. So I'm always telling my kids to be careful to not have kids. But if they want to when they're older, sure. But um things are definitely a lot better now. With my new partner. Um, things always get better if you're stuck in a situation where you think nothing could be better. Um, Nothing could change. Things could. Things really can. Because when I got into streaming, that's when I started meeting other people and putting myself out there more and creating friendships, even if they were online, because I didn't feel alone. And I feel like that helped me because I got a sense of like independency when I did streaming, that it's okay to struggle. um that's what I did. I feel like that helped out a lot. um I love being a mom now, but it does make me think a lot about like how I was raised and what my oldest had to go through like as a baby. I don't know, it's just so different now. I'm very sorry that I cried. um okay, bye you guys. Thank you.